Hello everyone, welcome back to Big Toilet Golf. I'm Jerry Kroll, PGA, aka the Big Toilet, and today we're going to talk about Aimpoint putting. If you're like me and you first heard about Aimpoint, you probably scoured the internet looking for information. And maybe you found some crumbs here and there, but for the most part, Aimpoint has not been explained very well. Now, to their credit, the Aimpoint people, Aimpoint's a great system, by the way, but they're not going to tell you on YouTube how to do this. They want you to come see them and pay an exorbitant amount of money to learn how to do this. And there's a lot of fluff involved to fill the time that they are going to charge you for $300, $400, $500 for a class. And some of these classes aren't even one-on-one. There's a group of people. You're paying $300 for 2-3 hours with other people. So the individual instruction is not one-on-one, just so you know. Now, if you've looked at other channels and the internet trying to find information on this, like I said, you found some crumbs. But today, we're going to talk about Aimpoint. I'm going to show you what you need to do this and how to do it. Quick story. When I first heard about Aimpoint, I know there was a gentleman that I know, PGA golf professional, that was certified, and I asked him, hey, how can I get certified? I love this system. He goes, well, no, you can't. You can't get certified. Between me and another guy, we have Southern California covered. And that, quite honestly, that pissed me off. That was not cool. So I had a friend of mine that went and saw this gentleman for an Aimpoint lesson. So he took it, he brought back some paperwork, and that's what you need. If you're not going to pay that money, you need to find out a way to do it. So I got the information, I applied it myself, how to do this, and worked out some of the kinks, some of the things maybe you will never find on the internet how to do this. I'm going to show you how to do it right here on this channel. So stay tuned. After this, we'll get to it, and I'll show you how to do this once and for all. Okay, so to learn Aimpoint, you're going to need a tool. And the tool you're going to need from day one is this. It's a Husky digital level. You can get it at Home Depot. It's $40. This is pretty much all you're going to need. Other tools you may use, some strings, some tees, this stuff I'll show you later. But right now you need to have this. This is going to teach you how to read slope. So behind me, what I have here is a putt that is 1.5 degrees of slope from right to left. Now, obviously, I did use this to get the number correctly. So what I did is I practice this. So I get my read by straddling the ball, facing the hole, and I can feel my right side above my left side. And through practice and time and using this digital level, I know what 1 degree, 2 degrees, 3 degrees, 4 degrees feels like. It's crazy how good you can get at just picking up a 1/2 degree. So right here, it's 1.5 degrees of slope. So what I do is I have to apply a value to the number that I get. 1 degree is 1 finger, 2 degrees is 2 fingers, 3 degrees is 3 fingers. It gets a little more intricate than that. But what we're talking about right here is 1 degree, 2 degrees, 3 degrees, 1.5 degrees. I take my 1 and 2 and I cross my fingers, and that's 1.5. Now what I found out through trial and error is that I would use the tip of my finger as my 1 degree of slope, and I'll show you this in a second. I noticed that I would miss putts mostly on the low side, so I wasn't playing enough break for the speed I like to hit putts. So I moved my read down to my second knuckle here, which is a little bit wider, which gives me more room to read it. So as I read this putt, I'm standing there facing the hole, and this is a 1.5 degree slope. I cross my fingers, I close my left eye, I cover half of the hole on the right side as the putt is breaking from right to left. This part of my finger is on the middle of the hole. This outside part of my second knuckle on my middle finger is showing a space to the right of the hole, which on this putt is about 3 inches, 3.5 inches to the right of the hole. I find a little bit of discoloration to the right of the hole that I can aim at. Okay, sometimes that can be hard. You can't find sometimes it's very hard to find a leaf or a brown piece of grass, but you can do it, right? When you work hard enough, you can do it. So I will hit this putt. Left my putter over here. I'm going to get my read. They call me one take toilet, so let's see if I can make it the first time. I got my little bump of grass to the right of the hole. Oh, very nice, very nice. So yeah, I don't make everything, but I putt a lot better since I started doing Aimpoint. So number one, you got to get the slope read with your digital level. Number two, you got to apply a value to it. Okay, so in part two here, we're going to talk about longer putts. Putts that don't have a consistent break from the start to finish. The first putt that I hit was 1.5 degrees, consistent throughout the putt. This putt here from across the green, from about maybe 40 feet, has 3 different numbers to it. At the start, it's about 1.5 degrees from the left to the right. In the middle of the putt, it's about 2.5 degrees from left to right. And the last third of the putt, we're talking about 1.5 degrees from left to right. So at this case, I try to find the highest number and use that. Now, that being said, if the highest number was at the start of the putt, since that first third of the putt, the ball is moving the fastest, it's not really going to take that break very hard. You can hit it right through that 1.5 degrees or what have you. So we're going to use the second part, which is 2.5, the highest number. So if I go through this progression of reads right now, straddling the hole, I know this is 1.5. I come up to my second part, and I feel this is 2.5 from left to right. And then I get to here, and I get more gentle break, about 1.5 from the left to the right. So, as we hit this putt, I'm going to use the 2.5 degrees of slope. I use my middle finger, my index finger, and my pinky finger on my right hand because it's a smaller finger. If I went 3 degrees, I would use the 3 big fingers. So I'm going to get my read here of 2.5. Let's see how I do. Oh, that ball was tracking. That ball was going right in the jar. Now, it didn't get to the hole. I left it short. As we know, 95% of putts that you hit that you leave short won't go in. Yeah, I know it's 100%. It's a joke. We're going to talk about speed a little bit later. Right now, let's go to part 3. Okay, so I've left this putt just a little bit short. I got about a 4-footer here. Now, as I told you in part 2, the first part of a long putt, when you hit it, if the break is 1.5, 2 degrees of slope, it's the first part of the putt on a long putt, it's going to go very fast through that break. So you can't use the first part of the putt in most cases as your break point, as your read. So now we've got a short putt. Now, why is this going to be the same as the first part of a long putt? Because it doesn't have time to travel and slow down. Okay, this putt is only 4 feet long, so what's going to happen is this pace that I hit it at is the pace that it's going to go in at 4 feet. So you can't read the putt the same now. You can't read it where you cover half of the hole. Now you're going to take your read. This is 1.5 degrees here. As I close my left eye, instead of covering half the hole, I'm going to cover all the way to the bottom part of the hole. Okay? Arm straight out and covering the bottom part of the hole. And the left side of my finger shows me that I want to play this putt to the inside left of the hole. So inside the left edge. If I was to read it normally where I only covered half the hole, like I showed you in the still picture, it wouldn't have time to break. So I'm going to hit this putt, reading it. Once again, it's 1.5 degrees from left to right, so I'm going to cover the bottom half of the hole with my finger at 1.5 degrees, and this is inside the left edge. So there you go. A pretty good way to putt. You're gonna two putt a lot more, you're gonna make a lot more. You're not gonna make everything, it takes some practice. But as you fine tune this, you'll surprise yourself like you wouldn't believe. You'll drop strokes 2, 3, 4 shots around just by doing this. Now, part 4 is coming up. Hold on a sec. Okay, in this part we're going to talk about downhill putts. Now, normally when we read putts, whether it's breaking right to left or left to right, uphill, straight putt, the arm is always extended with your aim point number straight out in front of you. 1 degree, 2 degrees, 3 degrees, 1.5 degrees, whatever it may be. Now, when you have a downhill putt, if you remember earlier what I talked about was that first part of the putt that you hit on a long putt doesn't break because the speed is too fast. Now we have a downhill putt that we have here behind me, that putt over there by the digital level, and it's straight downhill. So what I have to do now is get my read, which I have, and it's 1.5 degrees breaking from right to left. Okay, now I can't play my normal 1.5 degrees because as the ball is going downhill, I have to hit it slower, so it's going to have more time to break. So now what you have in your right arm, when normally you would go straight, you're going to have to pull that back. And let me show you something here if I can in relation to this ball I have right there. If it was, let's say, a 1.5 degree break and my arm was straight out, okay, you can see my space between the hole and the ball. You can see the ball. If I pull my hand and my arm closer to me, you can see how now the ball gets obscured. Now what that means is that's allowing me to play more break. So that's exactly what I'm going to do on this putt over here. So let's watch this. So here we go. I got my 1.5 degrees of read. Arm straight out, but I know it's downhill, it's going to be faster. So I'm going to pull back. This is going to give me a look that I have more space to aim to the right. If I go straight out, I got one look. If I pull straight back, now I've got a wider space to aim at because I know I'm going to need it for this slower putt. So let's this putt. I pulled that just a tad, and ran it by the hole. So once again, if I would have gave my regular read of straight out, I would have missed that putt if I pulled it like I did that one, quite a bit more left. But because I pulled back and now it showed more break on my right side of my finger, I gave myself a chance to stay on the high side for the ball to go in. We're always trying to keep the ball on the high side if we miss, if we can. The ball has energy coming in from the right to left. The ball is going towards the hole. It may actually tumble in, hit a bump or something, go in. If it's going away from the hole on the low side, which is also called the amateur side, the high side is called the pro side, if the energy of the ball is working away from the hole on the low side, it's probably not going to kick back up the hill and go into the hole, okay? So, downhill putts, use your human stimp reader. By the way, why is it called a stimp reader? It's a device, if you've heard of the stimp reader or a speed meter. Originally it was called a stimp meter because a guy named Edward Stimpson in 1936 invented it. But it's about a 36-inch wedged shaped device made of metal or wood, and it's got a notch at the end, and as you raise it up, the ball rolls off the end, and you measure how far the ball rolls from the end of the stick, and that's how you get, oh, the greens are running a 9 today, the greens are running a 10 today. A little bit more involved than that, but this, once again, on downhill putts, make sure you pull back, maybe even halfway on your arm, maybe all the way. It takes a little bit of practice. You know, I don't try to go, okay, I'm pulling back 25% or 30%. I try to just pull back about 50%. It's windy sometimes, the camera blows over, but I'll pull back about 50%, and that will give me that extra point to read from. Okay, now what we have now in part 5 is a double breaking putts. How do you do them? The putt's doing one thing, one part of the putt, and another thing directly opposite on the second half of the putt. So in this putt here that you see, we're back here about 40 feet. The first half of this putt is breaking from left to right, and the second half of this putt is going 2 degrees from left to right. So the first part's breaking right to left at 1 degree. The second part's breaking left to right at 2 degrees. So what do? You just use a little basic subtraction, you know, kindergarten math. You take away 1 from 2 and you play 1 degree of breaks. Let's do it. So you got to make this easily, you can make this so complicated, but you got to make it easily digestible here. It's not difficult. This first part of the putt's 1 degree going that way. The second half is 2 degree going back the other way. I'm going to take away 1 from 2, I get 1 degree. So I'm going to play 1 degree of slope with my finger. It's slightly downhill, the second half of the putt, so I'm going to pull back a little bit to give myself a little extra read. And I got my point out there. And I know that this first part of the putt's going to start to jog the ball quite a bit to the left. I'm trusting my 1 minus 2 to make it 1 degree for it to come back to the right here. So here we go. I know the highest number is 2 degrees, but the first part's 1 going the other way, so I'm playing at 1 degree. Oh, see, that's the great thing about Aimpoint. See, when you get these numbers and you get such a defined area to aim to, you make better strokes. You're not really guessing anymore. It's pretty scientific, so you make better mechanical strokes. Sometimes when I see people that don't quite trust what they're doing, what happens is, you know, they'll decelerate or they'll accelerate. You'll see kind of a jabby stroke because they just don't trust what they're doing. But when you get this stuff down, you'll trust it. Okay, some final points here on what we did today. And in relation to distance control, the speed that you hit your putts. Now, if anybody tells you that they can teach you speed, then just walk away, because they can't do it, okay? They can do all kinds of crazy things, like in a class where they would, on the putting green, they would draw in a chalk line, a yellow line, a purple line, a black line, a red line, a green line, a white line, and put the ball on a line, and have you take the putter back to maybe a line that's 2 lines back and go back to a line that's 2 lines through. And that would show you, you know, an equidistant stroke, but that's not going to teach you speed, okay? It's just teaching you a stroke that's even on both sides, which is fantastic. Teaching speed is impossible. For example, if I stood with a golf ball in my hand and I just tossed it to this little area over here, just did that, oh, it landed right there. I just did it because I just saw it and I just released it. It was very athletic of me. You can't tell somebody to, okay, make sure you dorsiflex and palmar flex your right hand to 16 inches back and go back 16 inches through at this pace, and it's going to go to there. You can't teach that. That's just athletic motion. That's athletic skill. So pace is very important. It's up to you to do that. I saw one online person talking about how to control speed, where you would take those big plastic discs, maybe a junior golfers would chip to on a putting green, throw one at 20, one at 30, one at 40 feet and putt to those downhill, and then go back and putt them uphill. Or if you don't have the discs, grab a head cover or some tees or whatever and putt to those. I'm like, what does that mean? You can just putt to the holes on the putting green or putt to the edge of the green. So these things that people tell you about speed, just be careful. It's up to you. Okay, it's just a practice thing. You have to practice speed. In putting, you have the line, the speed, and one other thing, centered contact on the putter face. If you don't have centered contact on the putter face, you're going to have a hard time judging line and speed. So practicing centered contact, every putter nowadays has got a line on the top of the putter or a line in the back of the putter or a 2-ball putter. You're trying to, that's the manufacturer is trying to get you to understand you need to hit the middle of the putter face. So the mentality wise of hitting a putt can be something like I use where I'm putting, and after I do my line and then get a feel for speed, maybe on a practice stroke or two, my thought, my mindset, I tell myself, flush it. That's kind of my mantra. I just make sure I'm ready to go, and now I'm just gonna flush it. It gives me a nice, simple cue to not get lazy, not be too focused on line or too focused on speed, but just to hit a good putt after I've done all my work. So use that if you can. It'll help. So in the meantime, until I see you next time, pound that like button. Please subscribe. Plenty more fun stuff to come. And I will see you next time. Keep flushing it.